Well, good evening and welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm the co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
It is. It always is a pleasure to host with you, and it's always good to be able to have people that come on and that pick the interests of the people here in Indianapolis and Central Indiana. So we're happy to have some of the people we have on Real People, Real Voices.
And we have an outstanding guest today.
Oh my God. This sister is somebody, and we're happy to have her with us. She's not only somebody, but she's a beautiful young lady. She carries herself very well, and she's going to be doing some things in the city of Indianapolis, and we need to catch on.
Absolutely. Only been around here about a year.
About a year.
Yeah.
She's making the adjustment. And this is a rough city to get adjusted to when you've been to other larger cities, metropolitan cities. It's a rough city. But I think she's going to do
Looks like she's ready for it, though.
She's ready for it. I mean, she's a strong sister.
Yeah.
I'm excited for her today.
Speaking of strong, we want to thank our strong sponsors.
Lee Corso and Crawley are with us, and Fervent Care Christian Academy has been with us. And if you have a desire to be a part of this, come on and be a part of Real People, Real Voices. We accept your sponsorship freely.
And you can also be a part of what we do by subscribing to our YouTube channel, WHMB TV 40 on YouTube.
And like us on Facebook.
And a lot of information.
Yeah.
You can go back through the videos, you can pause, you can write down phone numbers and addresses and email websites and all of that to make your life better than perhaps it is today.
And this is going to be a good year for you, believe me.
Absolutely. We have a lot to share with you. We'll be back in just a bit with Dr. Kelly Morgan. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we're joined by Dr. Kelly Morgan. She is the Associate Curator of American Art at the
Indianapolis Museum of Art at Newfields.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whole new title.
And we want to welcome you to the show, but also
To the city of Indianapolis.
Thank you.
You are formally welcome to the city of Indianapolis and Marion County and Central Indiana right here on Real People, Real Voices.
yeah,
I
so
appreciate it.
how did you get here?
I was recruited. So the director, Charles Venable, recruited me. He was at a party or at a social function.
Yeah, that's better.
And he said, yeah. And he, talking to a group of folks, and he said, I need a curator that's gonna do something different with American art. Like if you walked into one American art gallery at a traditional museum in the country, you walked into them all. And someone suggested that he call me, and at the time I was a fellow at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. And he sent me an email, and he said, let's talk, so we did. And he said, what would you do, if you had full autonomy over an American collection? And I said, oh, that's easy. I would change the whole narrative. And he said, how so? And I said, well, from the work that I've done thus far, it's not just, Black artists have been written out of the history or left out in particular ways, or women artists have been, left out in particular ways. Even white male artists, have been mythologized to this point of fiction, so the whole narrative, needs to change. So I ran down, the different artists that I would look at and like different artists that I would want to collect. And he said, you should come visit. So actually he came to Philly first, because we got off the phone and I was kind of like, I'm not moving to Indiana. And then he came to Philly, and then he brought me here. And when I got here and I saw the campus, I was sold.
Blown away. It is a beautiful campus. And you're going to change some things on that campus.
I already am.
Yeah,
you should come to my galleries. You guys have to come now.
You don't have to do that.
We don't have to do that. I mean, this is history. I mean, for our art museum, believe it or not, because it has been a museum that has not been real receptive to diversity. Did I make that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now we're going to see some good things, and hopefully we can get more of our community to come to that museum
That
now.
was the reason that I honestly, just accepted the position, because it was the first time that I'd ever, had a director, and I've been supported at all of my other institutions, very sufficiently. And he said, I'm not asking you to come and do what I want you to do. I'm asking to come and do what you do, and I'm gonna give you the resources and the support to make it greater. And I was just blinking. This is like, I've never had a museum director say that. Plus the programming that was already happening, so Winter Lights, some of our culinary arts programming, what our fashion arts were doing, and literally the theater, just bringing, and just being, like you said, making it plain, bringing Black people through the door. And that being a priority, and like a real priority.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've never seen anything like it.
I think about 3% comes through that door.
Yeah.
Am I right? My numbers are right. It's 2.5%, 3%. Yeah. And so maybe you can get it up to 10 now.
Yeah, and we do a lot,
Right.
and then there are, IUP, UI may do something, like sometimes, because it's hard to keep up with the calendar because we do so much. And sometimes I'll come upstairs and I'm like, there's a lot of Black folks here today. Like, we're doing well. And I'm like, I didn't even know this was happening tonight.
Right.
So there are other programs, that happen all the time. But my goal is to get us in the galleries, to get us in front of.
What is your agenda?
So, honestly, to make the American art historical narrative more truthful, and to tell our story. Because I think we really are the quintessential Americans.
Okay.
This country wouldn't exist, without what we did,
Right.
and are continuing to do, right? And to a large degree, I'm like, they wouldn't exist, if we didn't do the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. I was reading the newspaper. I'm blanking on the name right now. Sorry, but about 65 and 70, just kind of obliterated African American neighborhoods. But that just didn't happen in Indianapolis. That happened all over the country. That was federal legislation.
Right.
And I've spoken about that, in terms of how not just the interstate, but how 38th. Is this dividing line, so as a cultural institution, we're like the gatekeepers,
Right.
so you can't pass go, north of 38th. Being a Detroiter, I know all about that. As 38th is my 8 Mile, basically.
Right.
So how does geographical racism, function, in that kind of way? And what is our responsibility as a cultural institution?
As a cultural institution.
Yes, to not only address that, but to completely dismantle it.
Right.
And it's making people welcome,
Right.
allowing people to come into the galleries and see themselves.
What are you
right?
planning for Black History Month, if I might ask?
So my show actually opens the month after.
Okay, that's
so it
okay.
opens March 15th. It's called Left of Center, or Samuel Levi Jones, Left of Center. Sam is a local artist, a local African-American artist, very well known, really successful contemporary artist. And it was just so serendipitous because his artist practice, he deconstructs encyclopedias, medical texts, and judicial annals as a critique of how oppression is upheld in like the bodies of knowledge that we refer to, for our cultural systems. So it's 16, we call them paintings, or he calls them paintings. And what he does is he peels the covers, he deconstructs the books all together, peels the covers off, he soaks them, and then he puts them back, he pieces them, sews them back together, like quilting almost. Beautiful canvases. And we talking about all kind of stuff in that show. We talking about Ferguson and police brutality and medical experimentation on African Americans. You name it. So we're really going
At the art museum?
At the art museum. Yes, we
Now,
are.
is that your spring exhibition?
That's the spring exhibition.
This spring.
Okay. It's your spring exhibition.
Spring exhibition. And we do have a MLK celebration, MLK Day celebration that's coming up in a
Right.
couple weeks. So I'm not doing anything specifically, for Black History Month, because I'm like, Black History Month is every day. And Sam's show, it opens March 15th, it's up until September 1st.
Oh, it's running that long. Oh, he has the whole gallery there.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Well, Dr. Morgan, we have a lot more that we'd like to know from you. We got to take a quick break. So stay with us. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. And again, we're joined by Dr. Kelly Morgan. She is the Associate Curator of American Art at the Museum of Art and Newfields.
Newfields.
So a lot of people, when we say Newfields, may not know what that is. What is
Yeah,
Newfields?
that's been the quintessential question, since I've been here. So like I said, I've only been here for a year, and we changed the name. I think the November before I got here, so 2 months before I got here. And Charles, and our interpretation team is very much so about crowdsourcing, right? Or audience engagement. And we did a survey about, people's comfortability, for coming to the museum. And one of the responses, or a very frequent response, was like, I don't feel comfortable because of the word museum. The term museum sort of has a connotation of exclusivity. It makes me feel like I don't belong. And so Charles said, well, that's pretty much all we needed to know, because we have so many other things to offer in terms of activity, right? So we have a theater, we have a beer garden, we have a greenhouse, we have a botanical garden, we have a park.
And what's a beer garden?
So it's like a beer cafe, basically.
Oh, okay.
So craft brews, wines,
Okay.
and lemonades.
A lot of people might not know that.
Yeah.
No, you're really educating a lot of people today about the art museum. You have served notice on our community about the Newfield flavor.
Yeah, so he wanted to name the
Yeah.
campus, basically. It was like, okay, take museum out of the name, make people feel comfortable. We want this to be a place that people know that they can come to do whatever they want to do. That is within reason, and with interest, who have interest in the arts. It's like a one-stop shop.
Right. Yeah, you've educated us today. We didn't know that Newfield existed until you told us. What about you, Jackson?
Well, I knew about the space. I wasn't aware that it was called
You didn't come to Winter
Newfields.
Lights.
No.
You have to come to Winter. So you guys have to come next year. We sold out 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
70,000 people last year,
Yeah.
100,000,
It's
over
always
100,000
been
this year.
a major event, the light situation. Always.
Yeah, you have to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
have to do
And a lot of the other things that you all are doing.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in art? Because when you talk about black folks and art, certainly we have a lot of black people, have always had black folks in art, but what was your attraction to this kind of work?
I will honestly say, and I don't say this publicly all the time, right? Because you never know what people's spirituality are. Okay.
1.3 million people. Okay.
But I feel like it was a career path that I was led to. I always say to people, like, I don't do this work for myself. I don't even do this work for you. I do this work for the Lord. Because I didn't have a purview for it. I really didn't. I wanted to be a professor. And as I was studying Black women's intellectual history, I came across a book called Creating Their Own Image, African American Women Artists, by Lisa Farrington. Really famous, celebrated, Black female art historian. And I was going through her footnotes because I was mesmerized by this book. And there was so much left to do. There was so much left, just stones that were unturned. And I said, okay, here's the thing, because I knew I was going to get a PhD in history. I didn't necessarily know what it was going to be. And then as I started pursuing my graduate work, the curatorial positions and opportunities just kind of came. Just meeting the right
Dropped in your
people.
lap.
Super did. Even this position, because I was totally happy in Philly, and he wouldn't stop calling. And so I said, okay, Lord, okay, I'm gonna go to Indiana, and here I am. And then I think sometimes I can think back to my grandfather. So my grandfather, worked in the factories like most Black people in Detroit. But he was in a stamping company and he messed up his finger, so he started shining shoes, along with running numbers and some other things. And he would bring home like National Geographic or Smithsonian Magazine. And he would, call me in from outside. The thing that I hated is like when he would do it and make me read the Wall Street Journal. It was like the worst. But I was fascinated, with these things. And that was like French decorative art. And he would say, I can't get you there, but I need you to know that you can be there. And I had no idea where there was, until I started doing the work. And I wonder now, I need to ask my sister about this now that I'm thinking about it, but if some of his clients that he was shining shoes, if they were art collectors. Because now I can remember the moments, where he would push me or he would say, come look at this here, and it would be like a Henry Tanner painting.
Well, you're connected to one of the greatest art museums in the country. And so Paw did a good job.
He did.
Yeah, so Paw had you going in the right direction. So you ought to thank God for Paw. Getting you going in the direction. Look at you now, you're a sophisticated curator.
Thank you.
Yeah, because of Paw. Shining shoes and giving you National Geographics.
Yeah, you never know who's going to make an impact.
Hey, man, isn't it
on
amazing?
your life.
Yeah. You see, I can't get you there, but I can show you the direction.
Right.
Phenomenal.
So, with regard to what you do and what you have, your purview is certainly much broader now. Are there any opportunities for folks to make careers at the Art Museum?
Yes. And it's really one of those, it's a career path where it's like you have to go where the jobs are. So what we're trying to do collectively, because right now the museum, I say the museum field is having like a come to Jesus moment with itself about needing, curators of color or museum professionals of color. It's a small community of us, but we do span, pretty much all the major institutions across the country. And then there are programs, right? So there's a curatorial program at Spelman, for instance. There's a feeder program at Clark. They're different. Like we will take on, like our colleagues, students, so some of my colleagues at other institutions may say, if you need a youth intern, I'll send. So we're still kind of doing it on a case-by-case basis because art history isn't necessarily feeding us the students, right? Black students aren't going into art history. So we're trying to change that as well. But what we do is the students that come to us, or we put ourselves in front of students, like I teach. I've been teaching for 7 years, undergrads and grad students to say this is something that you can do.
Are you teaching here in Indianapolis yet?
IUPUI.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Which is not far from the Art Museum.
Right. All right. And another thing, has the museum put you in a position to where you can create an internship?
Yes. So there's a teen council that I just kind of walked into, which was fabulous, that our community outreach, program or department has run for a number of years. And so my full reinstallation, of the American collection, I have those teens like writing the script, with me, so that their voices will be on the wall. So from high school, if they want to go the curatorial route, if they want to go into the arts, they will have a project. They'll be graduating with a project, name on the wall, whole thing, or whole nine, when they get out. So I still need to recruit, of course, more students of color, because out of maybe about 16, 17 students, I have about 5. So I'm totally interested, in getting Black high school students. I've talked to a few people, around the city to kind of get that going. And then my undergrads, they'll just work with me, Well,
Dr. Morgan, we have just over a minute left. Your spring exhibition is coming up. We know it's going to be in the spring, but can you be more specific as to what times that will be available to the community at the Art Museum?
Yeah, it opens March 15th, which is a Friday. I think the opening, is in the evening, so post 5 o'clock. And then we haven't fully scheduled all the programming, so that'll be up on our website though in the next probably 6 weeks. But that's the show that I need. Yeah, we definitely need to show up for.
You need to have some presence there.
Yeah. Well, you've been a great guest.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Come again.
I will.
And thank you all for joining us. We look forward to sharing some more with you in the rundown that's coming up in just a moment. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I am your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm your executive producer, Faith McKinney.
That was an outstanding segment or show, a couple of segments with Dr. Morgan, with the Arts Museum.
Yeah, the Arts Museum in Indianapolis has had a stigma for years in our community. And to be real about it, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. This is a ray of hope for diversity at the museum. It's going to be phenomenal to see some of the work that she's going to bring in, some of the artists that she's going to bring in, and the galleries that she's going to fill with American art and Afro-American art and women's art and white male art, because she did tell us.
And that was interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting because we've always thought that that was not the issue at all. But white males are having a problem getting their art in certain galleries right now. She's going to try to do that as well. So she's a woman of diversity.
Dynamic person.
Yes.
And her perspective, as a function of being in the art world, she has to travel around. She has to move around. So she gets perspectives from all over the country, and she's bringing that here to Indianapolis.
And then to be on staff at IUPUI is tremendous.
Yeah.
I think it is tremendous to not only just come to a city to curate art in a museum, but to take your spirit in a university and try to spread it. That's phenomenal to me.
Well, I do like what I see trending in Indianapolis, and that is
in some areas
more diversity.
Yeah, in some areas. let's be truthful about it. In some areas, and it's good to see it at the museum.
It's good to see. It's good to see, and I hope all the best to what Dr. Morgan's going to be doing.
Yeah, we're going to pray for her, man.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we've got to get out to some of these exhibits at the Arts Museum to check out what they're doing. Not just the exhibits, but all the other things with the new field.
The new field, and most of you who like the beer garden. And
the beer garden is there.
And the picnic area, and all of that is going on. The daycare is there.
Pavilion.
The pavilion,
It's gorgeous, yes.
Yeah.
They have a space for events.
Right.
So, consider that.
And the garden area, too, is beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you all are beautiful.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. We want to thank Lee, Kossel, and Crowley for their support.
And Fervent Care Christian Academy for being with us for another year.
Absolutely. And again, thank you. We look forward to our next time with you on Real People, Real Voices. We'll see you next time.